everybody, so it's getting a little punitive out there, huh? A little authoritarian? Dare I say China-like? Authorities are yanking people from buses. Cops are confronting people in the weirdest of places. You know why I stopped you, sir? In a grocery store? No, I don't, officer. We have the press conferences with Dr. Fauci.
I haven't gone state by state.
I don't know, it doesn't quite feel right to get health instructions from a guy who sounds like he smokes 2 packs a day. The media zombies are so predictable, and it's depressing. It didn't take them long to pivot from China's culpability to full-on attack mode on Trump. But as I've shown in the previous videos on swine flu, and I really recommend that you watch it, the media and the Democrats would have to admit that their outrage is a tad inconsistent when you consider the similar circumstances back then. When swine flu hit, we knew it was lethal and did very little. The information given to the public for months was proven to be enormously understated and wrong.
The number of deaths blamed on the flu outbreak was being underreported.
And when the vaccine finally came out, there were massive screw-ups with it.
Clearly, the vaccine production technologies need to continue to improve.
And at least with swine flu, Obama was dealing with Mexico. Trump, on the other hand, has had to deal with a lying communist country and a World Health Organization that was running interference for them at the most critical time of containment.
The Chinese government is to be congratulated for the extraordinary measures it has taken to contain the outbreak.
Trump took a lot of heat for labeling this the China virus.
Okay, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans.
She says there's been reports of bias. What about verified reports? And then you'd have to show the evidence that the biased people are actually fired up by Trump. I seriously doubt it. Was he being inflammatory? Yes, but I don't believe it was racial. What people leave out was that Trump was retaliating. China had started to circulate the ridiculous story that the US military started the disease. Let that sink in a second. China killed off whistleblowers, scrubbed evidence, lied about human-to-human contagiousness, and then they blamed us. Trump retaliated by saying that this was the China virus. When China stopped blaming the US military, Trump changed his language. Did the media clarify this part? Of course not. But Bill Maher picked up the ball to remind people that this is the Chinese virus.
Scientists, who are generally pretty liberal, have been naming diseases after the places they came from for a very long time. So why should China get a pass? This isn't about vilifying a culture. This is about facts. This is about life and death. The answer is we should blame China.
You are correct, sir.
He said this isn't about vilifying a culture. I would say no, but we can vilify a government and aspects of a culture. Race shouldn't be used as a shield against facts. And the fact is, China can't be judged harshly enough. Let's not forget, this is a country where the leader responsible for 40 million deaths is revered. Because of backward superstitions, tigers and rhinos are almost extinct. And at least somewhat of a decent portion of people eat dogs, cats, and other exotic animals. Plus 2 million Muslims are kept in concentration/re-education camps. I mean real concentration camps, not the bullshit AOC concentration camps. And this is also the country that only a few years ago ended a heart-wrenching one-child policy that resulted in the most grotesque war on women imaginable.
They register whenever a woman had one child already, and then a month after the birth, the woman would be taken into clinics for forced sterilization. And in some cases, women would hide to try to carry another baby. And if they were discovered, no matter how far along this pregnancy was, they would be forced to have an abortion. And when they had a daughter, they would choose to abandon this daughter.
Propaganda touting the policy's success is woven into every aspect of Chinese citizens' everyday lives.
And hey, people sighing relief that the barbarism is over? Well, China changed it to a 2-child policy. So, yeah, it's better, but somehow I still see that as kind of a human rights outrage. I don't know. Then there's the abuses on the Hong Kong citizens, Taiwan, Tibet, aggression in the South China Sea, controlling all manner of media messaging. People chuckle about North Korea being a tragic joke, but with China, it's a much larger threat and a much larger joke. And that joke is on us. And here's the ultimate irony. A tyrannical, oppressive, communist government is being enabled by capitalists. William Buckley liked to say the trouble with socialism is socialism. The trouble with capitalism is capitalists. This is the uneasy part about capitalism. Capitalism nor socialism is about morality.
Whether you call them socialism, capitalism, or anything else, people act from self-interest. In a society in which people are free to do their own thing, in which people make voluntary deals, it's hard to do good. You got to persuade people, and there's nothing in this world harder.
China is basically North Korea with a lot of money. At a time when we need to remind ourselves that there is such a thing as national interests, capitalists, of course, will say otherwise, in pursuit of their own self-interest. It brings to mind this speech from the movie Network.
You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars.
So when the GM from the Houston Rockets tweeted support for Hong Kong, it was LeBron James who had to make a public statement.
But I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand.
You're not going to be allowed to do business, and everyone wants a share of the Chinese market. That's the problem. It's like the biggest market in the world.
And with all the things I listed, do you think it's just a coincidence that the world looks the other way? Now that China is responsible for deaths across the globe, are we going to keep the big picture in mind?
No more kissing China's ass!
China's actually a free and loving country.
I'm out!
Probably not, especially when it's so easy to look elsewhere for blame. But it is important to realize that China is entirely to blame for this. The Chinese government is a hostile entity that needs to finally reform. And not letting their government off the hook is not an act of racism or xenophobia, regardless of what Jim Acosta says. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share. It's really needed. Thank you.